Can we really rely on the Bible? And are we just supposed to believe it without question? If you've ever asked that, you're not alone. Maybe you've heard that the Bible is full of contradictions. Maybe someone told you it's just an ancient fairy tale. But what if the Bible actually holds up under history, logic, and even science? Stay with me, because one of these arguments might just change how you see all of it. Hey y'all, I'm Katie. This is A Worthy Manner, and as Tim Keller said, you are more loved and accepted than you could ever dare hope. Whether you're a believer looking to grow, a skeptic with honest questions, or somewhere in between, you're at the right place. Here's the thing, you don't want to believe just because someone told you to. You want reasons. You want to know if this worldwide religion or the faith you're holding on to has a solid foundation. That's what this video is all about. We're walking through 10 arguments for the Bible. These aren't emotional appeals or blind leaps. These are facts, evidence, reason. While not everything is going to be a proof, as Tim Keller often points out, sometimes we're looking for clues rather than proofs. And if you stick with me, by the end, you'll have a good starting point for understanding why this book has stuck around for so long. Quick note, if you're new to the channel, we cover topics with an eye towards apologetics. That's the defending of our faith. But to defend what you believe, you first need to know what you believe, why you believe it, and how to live it. So let's get into today's focus. The first clue we have is the manuscript evidence. The Bible is the most well-preserved ancient document in human history. We have over 5,800 complete or fragmented Greek manuscripts of the New Testament. If you include Latin and other early translations, that number jumps to over 24,000. To compare, we have about 10 manuscripts of Julius Caesar's Gallic Wars. For Plato's works, we have around 7. Yet, no one questions whether those authors existed or wrote those texts. This means we can reconstruct the original biblical text with more accuracy than almost any other ancient document. And the further we get from it in time, the more evidence we have. Stated plainly, the Bible's words haven't been lost in transmission or translation. It's the most verifiable ancient text we have. The second clue we will look at is fulfilled prophecy. The Bible's predictive power is one of the strongest claims we have to the accuracy of the Bible. Over 300 prophecies about the Christ are found in the Old Testament, and Jesus fulfilled every single one. These include his birth in Bethlehem, betrayal for 30 pieces of silver, and death by crucifixion, which, by the way, death by crucifixion was written before death by crucifixion even existed. Mathematically, the odds of just one person fulfilling 8 of these is 1 in 100 quadrillion. That's 1 with 17 zeros behind it. Lots and lots of zeros. What I'm trying to say is these aren't vague or lucky guesses. They're precise, and history backs them up. That kind of accuracy doesn't happen by chance. Thirdly, we can look at historical corroboration. I said that right on the first try. The Bible describes real people, real places, and real events, and archaeology keeps on confirming them. For example,
the Tel Dan inscription confirms King David.
The Caiaphas ossuary names the high priest who tried Jesus. The Pilate stone confirms Pontius Pilate's position. Cities like Jericho and Nineveh were once doubted, but have since been uncovered by archaeologists. Critics used to say there was no evidence for the Hittites. Today, we found entire libraries from their civilization. The Bible doesn't just read like a fantasy. It reads like history, because it is. Let's take a look at our next clue, textual consistency. The Bible was written by over 40 authors across 3 continents in 3 languages over a span of 1,500 years, and yet its whole message holds together. Try that with any other major collection of books. Star Wars, The Matrix. What about how in Stranger Things, you can definitely tell one part was written one year and then they were kind of filling in the blanks later? You would expect contradictions, competing worldviews, conflicting messages. But the Bible is remarkably unified from Genesis to Revelation. The central themes of sin, redemption, God's holiness, and his plan for humanity are woven throughout. There are no plot holes, there's no character developments that don't make any sense. It's all one perfect picture. That kind of consistency doesn't happen unless something bigger is at work. If you're keeping count, we're at clue number 5, early testimony. Critics love to claim the Bible was written centuries after the events it describes, but that is just absolutely not true. The New Testament books were written within 20 to 60 years of Jesus' life, well within the lifetime of the eyewitnesses. Even better, early church fathers like Clement, Polycarp, and Ignatius quoted nearly the entire New Testament in their writings by the early 2nd century, the hundreds, not the 200s. This shuts the door on the idea that the Bible was slow developing legend. Legends take centuries. The Bible's testimony was immediate. The writers didn't have time to fabricate stories. They were reporting what they or other eyewitnesses saw and lived. People will die for a lie, but how many will die if they know it's a lie? Clue number 6 is the martyrdom of the apostles. The apostles claimed they saw the risen Jesus after he was crucified and dead. Then they stuck to that story under torture, imprisonment, and execution. Peter was crucified upside down. Paul was beheaded. James was thrown from the temple. They had nothing to gain, no power, no wealth, no safety. Why suffer and die for something you know is false? They had nothing earthly to gain. Their suffering is a persuasive sign that they genuinely believed what they taught, and they, as eyewitnesses, had every reason to know if it was true or not. Let's look at our next clue, Jesus' own view of the scripture. Some say, well, I trust Jesus, but not the Bible. That doesn't really work though, because Jesus trusted the Bible. He quoted the Old Testament constantly. He affirmed Moses as a historical figure, referenced Jonah's story, and he even said scripture cannot be broken. He treated the Bible as truth, not as symbolic literature, not as mythology. If Jesus believed in the authority of scripture and you trust Jesus, you should trust the authority of scripture too. Point number 8 is scientific foreknowledge. While the Bible isn't a science textbook, it contains insights that align with modern science, centuries before scientists caught up. Leviticus, their sanitation laws, and quarantine practices that mirror today's public health procedures. Job 26:7 describes the earth as being hung on nothing, a poetic yet accurate description of space. Ecclesiastes 1:7 speaks of the water cycle long before it was formally understood. Side note, the list goes on and on for most of my points in today's video. I digress though, back to the point at hand. These examples aren't proof that the Bible is a scientific book, but it does show that it avoids the kind of scientific blunders you would expect from an ancient text. For its time, the Bible's scientific accuracy and lack of error are shockingly correct. Across time and culture, the Bible changes lives. Our 9th point is the Bible's transformational power. It has shaped laws, governments, education, and human rights movements. It's been used to build hospitals, end slavery, and defend human dignity. On a personal level, people from all religions and walks of life, addicts, criminals, skeptics, scholars, have had their lives radically changed by encountering its message. A clue to this book's endurance is that there is something true and human at its core. Congratulations, we've made it to point number 10, the Bible's survival against all odds. The Bible has been banned, burned, and outlawed in countless regimes. From Roman emperors to communist governments, people have tried to erase it, and yet it still survives. Not only that, it thrives. It's the most printed, most translated, and most read book in the world, every single year. If it were just another religious text, why would it inspire such fear or such devotion? Books don't just survive, they're preserved. Something or someone is keeping this one alive. I hope these 10 points brings clarity to your faith and answers some common questions you may have. Here's the bottom line. The Bible isn't merely a religious document. It's a historically grounded, textually reliable, and philosophically consistent piece of literature that's transformed the world. You don't have to check your brain at the door to believe in it. You just have to be willing to look at the evidence. And please, do not check your brain at the door. None of us have time for that. Remember that question in the beginning, can we trust the Bible? Now you have 10 reasons why the answer is yes. Please hit subscribe and we'll see you in the next video. Want us to cover a specific topic or highlight one of those clues even more? Let us know in the comments. We look forward to hearing from you. Thanks.